Commander Elias Varn stepped off the shuttle, his boots making soft clicks against the smooth, crystalline surface of the landing platform. The Xylarian capital stretched before him like a vision from another galaxy. Towers of iridescent crystal rose into the sky, reflecting colors he could not name, twisting and shifting as if alive. Ships hovered silently above the city, their engines emitting a soft hum that vibrated through the platform. Humans had never built anything like this, not even the tallest skyscrapers on Earth, nor the orbital stations that hung like jewels around distant planets. Elias felt a mix of awe and unease. He had trained for months for this mission, but nothing could have prepared him for the reality of standing on the doorstep of a civilization older than humanity itself. Behind him, his team of diplomats and security officers disembarked. Each wore the standard Earth uniform, marked with the insignia of the United Federation of Planets. They moved cautiously, scanning the edges of the platform for any sign of hostility. Elias knew that appearances mattered more than weapons here. He had been selected not for combat, but for negotiation. His voice, calm and steady, was supposed to carry the weight of humanity's desire for peace. Yet now, standing before the alien capital, he felt the weight of the entire species pressing down on him. The grand chamber of the Queen was beyond anything Elias had imagined. He entered through an archway that shimmered like liquid light, stepping into a hall so vast that it seemed endless. At the far end, floating above the polished floor, was the Queen herself. She was unlike any being he had ever encountered. Her body was composed of translucent chitin and flowing light, limbs twisting in ways that defied human anatomy. Her eyes glowed with a soft golden hue, and from her head rose spires of crystal that pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Around her, courtiers moved in perfect synchrony, their forms similarly elegant and alien, their gestures sharp yet fluid. Elias inhaled deeply. The moment of first contact had arrived. He was about to deliver humanity's message, to open the path for peace, and perhaps to end decades of war that had claimed billions of lives across countless star systems. His training kicked in. He straightened his posture, lifted his voice to the precise pitch and tone recommended for interspecies diplomacy, and began to speak. "Your Majesty," he said, his words measured and respectful. "I am Commander Elias Varn, representing the United Federation of Planets. We come not as conquerors, but as allies, seeking to end the conflict that has brought suffering to both our peoples. We extend a hand of peace and hope that our two species can forge a future together." The chamber fell silent. Even the subtle hum of alien energy seemed to dim. The courtiers froze in mid-step. The Queen, whose presence had already seemed otherworldly, stopped floating entirely, her form stiffening in mid-air. Elias's voice carried across the hall, intended to be a bridge of understanding, but instead it had triggered something he could not comprehend. The Queen's glowing eyes widened, and a ripple of energy ran across her body. She did not speak, she did not gesture. She simply froze. The courtiers stepped back, uncertain, whispering to each other in a language that sounded like the wind moving through glass. Elias felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Something had gone wrong. The mission was not supposed to begin with fear or hesitation. It was supposed to begin with dialogue. Elias's translator drone hovered near him, projecting a soft blue light as it attempted to interpret the Queen's unusual behavior. Fragments of alien thought waves reached the drone's sensors, chaotic and fragmented. The analysis came in slowly, each decoded phrase more confusing than the last. It seemed that his voice, this simple human voice, had triggered a memory in the Queen, a memory encoded in the genetic structure of her species, one that no one alive had intentionally passed down. Elias's mind raced. He had heard of alien species with deep memory instincts, capable of remembering events from centuries past through encoded biology, but he had never expected it to manifest like this. The Queen's reaction was not aggression. It was recognition, shock, and something else. Fear? Reverence? The air in the chamber felt heavy, almost solid. as if time itself had slowed. The courtiers murmured quietly, their movements hesitant. One of the smaller advisors floated forward, stopping a few meters from the queen. It seemed to confer silently with her, but there was no response, only the frozen posture. Elias realized he had stumbled upon something no human diplomat had ever encountered, a species whose instincts ran deeper than reason, whose memories were encoded in ways that defied linear time. He stepped forward cautiously. "Your Majesty," he said again, this time with softer inflection, "I am here to speak on behalf of humanity. We seek understanding, not conflict. Please, hear us." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint ripple of color moved through the queen's body. It was almost imperceptible, like the shimmer of heat over a desert, but it was enough for Elias to notice. Her eyes remained fixed on him, the golden glow now flickering with what could almost be described as awareness. Elias's team exchanged worried glances. Security officers readied their sidearms, though they had been instructed to act only if provoked. Every human instinct in him screamed to retreat, to pull back from this alien mind that could immobilize with mere recognition. Yet he forced himself to remain calm. He had trained for this. He had been chosen for his ability to project human resolve, to act as a bridge between worlds. He tried a different approach, speaking not as a commander, but as a human being. "I understand that our histories are painful," he said. "I know that my species has caused suffering, but I am here to change that. I am here to listen and to build something better." The queen's body shivered subtly, the crystalline spires on her head vibrating in response. The drone's sensors picked up faint telepathic signals, emotions rather than words, flooding the chamber. Elias realized that the queen was experiencing something beyond mere thought. His voice had not just been recognized, it had awakened a chain of memories, instincts, and emotions that reached back generations. It was terrifying. It was also, perhaps, an opportunity. Elias understood that he had a chance to use this moment, this unexpected reaction, to connect on a level no one had anticipated. He began to modulate his tone, blending calm authority with empathy. He spoke slowly, carefully, each word deliberate, each syllable chosen to convey sincerity and respect. The queen's form, once frozen and rigid, began to ripple and shift. The glow of her eyes softened, the tension in her limbs easing ever so slightly. The courtiers exhaled collectively, their whispers now tinged with relief rather than alarm. Elias felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The first hurdle had been crossed, not through strength, not through weapons, but through voice, intent, and human emotion. As the queen's body fully uncoiled, she tilted her head, her gaze fixed on Elias. There was still caution there, still instinctive wariness, but also a spark of curiosity. She had recognized him, yes, but she was willing to engage. Elias took a mental note. Diplomacy with the Xylarians would not be won through arguments or threats. It would be won through understanding, through gestures that acknowledged memory, fear, and trust. He looked around the chamber, seeing the alien courtiers in a new light. They were not enemies. They were beings guided by instincts and memories, as ancient and deep as his own species' history. Understanding this was key. Elias nodded to his team, signaling that the immediate crisis had passed, though the work ahead would be far more complex than anything they had trained for. The queen finally spoke, her voice like the resonance of crystal struck by light. Though the words were alien, the translator rendered them into Earth standard almost immediately. "Your voice, echoes of what was lost. Speak. Show the truth of your kind." Elias swallowed hard. The path forward was open, but it would require courage, honesty, and a willingness to confront the shared history that had caused so much pain. He took a deep breath and prepared to speak, knowing that the first words could shape the future of both species. The room held its breath, and in that suspended moment, Elias felt something rare in the universe, the fragile, luminous hope that understanding, even between worlds, was possible. Elias felt the weight of the Queen's gaze upon him, her golden eyes like twin suns, burning with curiosity, caution, and something he could not name. For a moment it seemed as though time itself had slowed. The courtiers remained still, their alien forms like statues, waiting for some signal from their ruler. Elias realized that the first moments of contact had passed, but a far more complex challenge awaited him: understanding why his voice had frozen the Queen, and using that understanding to begin the negotiation for peace. He stepped forward slowly, careful to match his movements to the calm energy of the chamber. "Your Majesty," he began, "I know my presence may awaken memories that are painful, but I am here to speak honestly. To show that humanity does not wish to destroy or dominate, but to coexist." The Queen remained silent for several heartbeats, her body shifting subtly as the crystalline spires on her head pulsed in rhythm with her thoughts. Then she spoke again, her words rendered through the translator with a melodic resonance that seemed to linger in the air. "Your voice carries echoes from the past. Not merely your past, but ours. You are remembered, as if you were never truly gone." Elias's heart skipped. Remembered? Not by people, but by an entire species. How could that be possible? He glanced at the drone, which hummed softly, scanning the Queen for telepathic traces. The readings were astonishing. The Queen's mind, and perhaps the minds of all Xylarians, contained layers of memory encoded in their DNA, instincts passed down for generations. His voice had triggered a deep, ancestral response, one that no human training could have predicted. He swallowed hard and spoke again, softer this time. "Then let me help you remember differently. Let me show that humans can be allies, not enemies." The Queen's spires shimmered, a subtle vibration echoing through the hall. Slowly her body relaxed further, though every movement seemed deliberate, calculated, as if centuries of instinct battled with the present moment. A single advisor approached cautiously, their limbs unfolding in a graceful arc. They spoke in their own language first, a series of clicks and hums. Then the translator rendered it into human speech. "The Queen perceives your voice. She sees the past, the destruction, the lost lives. Yet she feels the intention behind your words. Caution is heavy, but not immovable." Elias nodded. He understood that. Trust would not come easily, not when millennia of instinct and memory shaped every action. But there was a door, narrow, delicate, and dangerous, to walk through. He decided to take it. "I wish to understand," he said. "Tell me what you remember. Tell me what your people fear, and I will listen. Only through understanding can peace exist." For the first time, the Queen spoke without hesitation. Her voice, melodic and almost liquid, filled the chamber. "Your voice awakens the memory of the call. The signal sent across the stars. It reached us in a time of loss and devastation. We heard it, yet we could not respond. Many were lost. Many were destroyed. Your kind survived." Elias felt a chill. The call. He had only heard fragments of the event from ancient archives. Decades ago, during an early human exploration of Xylarian space, a team had gone missing. A distress signal had been sent. His own voice had been recorded during that transmission. He had been a cadet then, young, inexperienced, and terrified. He never thought it would reach these beings, never thought it would echo across the stars to the ears of a queen whose species remembered every loss as if it were their own. I was there," Elias said quietly. "I did not survive in body, but my voice, it carried across space. It was not meant to harm, only to plead for mercy. The queen's form trembled slightly, her light shifting between gold and a soft violet. Mercy or weakness? That is how it was perceived. The echo of your kind reached us, and the memory shaped our fear. That fear has guided our decisions for generations. You speak now with the voice of a survivor, yet the memory of the call remains. Elias realized the enormity of what he faced. This was not a negotiation between governments or armies. This was a negotiation across centuries of instinct and ancestral memory. Every word mattered. Every inflection could either soothe or trigger latent fear. He took a deep breath. Then allow me to speak with truth, not just words. Humanity has made mistakes. We have destroyed, we have fought, and we have caused suffering. But we have learned. We do not wish to repeat those mistakes. I am here to build a future where our species can coexist, where we honor the lives lost on both sides. The queen tilted her head, a subtle gesture but significant. Her spires pulsed rhythmically, and Elias felt a faint wave of resonance wash over him. It was as if she was measuring his sincerity, probing not just his words but the very essence of his intent. The courtiers watched silently, their own reactions a mixture of caution and curiosity. None moved too close, all waited for the queen's response. You speak with honesty, she said finally. Yet, honesty alone is not enough. Understanding is required. Show me why your kind should be trusted. Show me your purpose beyond survival, beyond expansion. Elias nodded. He had anticipated this. Actions would speak louder than words. Then let me demonstrate. Let me show the ways humans have grown, the ways we have learned to value life and cooperation. Allow me to present our achievements, our culture, our respect for life. Only through shared knowledge can fear be replaced by understanding. The queen's spires shimmered brighter, and she descended closer to the floor, reducing the distance between them. The gesture was not one of submission, but of cautious engagement. Elias felt a surge of hope. This was the opening he had been seeking. He began to speak of humanity's past, how they had explored the stars, faced internal conflicts, and survived near-extinction events. He spoke of alliances with other species, of efforts to preserve life, and of technology designed to heal rather than destroy. The queen listened, silent but attentive, her form radiating energy in subtle pulses. As the minutes passed, Elias sensed a shift. The queen's recognition of his voice, once a potential threat, had become a bridge. Her memories of fear and loss were now intertwined with the present moment, and she was beginning to perceive intent beyond instinct. For the first time, the possibility of true communication between their species seemed attainable. Yet, Elias knew this was only the beginning. Understanding one another required patience, courage, and relentless honesty. He could not rely solely on words. Every gesture, every tone, every expression mattered. The room remained tense, the courtiers alert, but hope lingered in the air like a fragile light in the darkness. After what felt like hours, though, was likely only minutes, the queen spoke again. You carry the memory of the lost call. You have survived while others perished. Your words convey intention. Your presence is a choice. You could have ignored our past, yet you come willingly. This is rare among your kind. Elias bowed his head slightly, humbled. I do not seek to ignore the past. I seek to honor it, to learn from it. Only by acknowledging our shared history can we create a future where humans and Xylarians coexist in peace. The queen regarded him silently, her spires dimming to a soft, steady glow. Then she spoke, her voice calm, resonant, and carrying a weight that seemed older than the stars themselves. Very well. You have awakened something in me that was long dormant. The fear remains, but so does curiosity. Speak further. Show me your intent, and perhaps humanity may find a place in our world. Elias allowed himself a small, private sigh of relief. This was more than a diplomatic success. This was the beginning of understanding, the first step toward reconciliation. The path ahead would be treacherous, full of unknowns, but at least it existed. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of his team. Each of them felt the tension, the uncertainty, and the rare spark of hope. The mission was far from over, but the first barrier, the frozen moment of recognition, had been crossed. Elias knew that from this point onward, every word, every gesture, every action would carry weight beyond measure, and as he spoke, he realized something profound. The key to survival, the key to peace, was not just strategy or technology, but empathy, courage, and the human heart. In a galaxy shaped by memory, instinct, and long-held fear, it was these qualities that might truly bridge the divide between species. For the first time in decades, Elias believed that humans and Xylarians might not only coexist, but thrive together. The stars beyond the crystalline walls of the capital seemed brighter somehow, promising a future where understanding, rather than conflict, could define the fate of civilizations. The chamber had grown quieter, the soft hum of alien energy filling the gaps where words could not. Commander Elias Varn stood before the Xylarian queen, feeling the weight of her gaze upon him, heavy yet patient. She had thawed from the frozen recognition of his voice, but now a new challenge had emerged, understanding not just the memory she held, but the truth behind it. Elias knew that if he could reveal this truth carefully, it might open the door to real peace between their species. The queen's spires pulsed gently as she spoke, her voice resonating like the vibration of crystal in a deep cavern. You speak of learning, of understanding, of coexistence. Yet your species' past is not without bloodshed. How can I trust your intent when history shows conflict? Elias nodded, accepting the challenge. I will not hide from the past. Humanity has made mistakes, and many of them have caused suffering beyond measure. But we have grown. We have learned the value of life, the importance of alliances, and the strength in empathy. I am here not to erase history, but to show that we have changed. The queen's eyes narrowed, but the glow of curiosity remained. Elias realized he needed more than words. He needed evidence, examples that could resonate with the queen in a way that transcended species and memory. He motioned to the translator drone, which projected a holographic map of human exploration. Star systems, colonies, and habitats floated in the air, each marked with icons representing cooperation, preservation, and shared achievement. These are the worlds we have touched, Elias explained. Not all perfectly, but each effort shows our intent to build, to preserve, to cooperate. Wars have scarred our history, yes, but they have also taught us the value of peace. We have learned from what we destroyed, and we now strive to protect, to understand, and to coexist. The queen remained silent, studying the projections carefully. Her spires pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. The courtiers whispered among themselves, their gestures subtle, yet Elias could sense their interest. The humans had long feared Xylarians for their ancient memory and instincts, but now those same instincts were responding to the story of growth, to the proof of change. After a moment, the queen spoke, her words deliberate and slow. You carry the memory of our call, a voice that reached across the stars during a time of destruction. Many perished because of that conflict, and yet you stand here, unafraid, seeking reconciliation. Why should I believe this change is real and lasting? Elias took a deep breath, because it is not just words. It is not a claim made lightly. I carry with me the lessons of humanity's history, the mistakes we have made, and the lives we have lost. We understand the consequences of our actions now in a way we could not before. I am here as proof of that understanding, as a representative of a species that has learned the value of life beyond conquest or survival. The queen tilted her head, her gaze unwavering. Elias sensed that she was probing, testing his sincerity. He remembered the stories he had read during training about the Xylarian instincts for memory and survival. Their species did not forget, and they did not forgive lightly. Yet here she was, listening, considering, evaluating. It was an opportunity, one he could not waste. "Your Majesty," Elias continued, "I wish to share a truth with you, one that may explain why our species are intertwined more than either of us realized. Humanity and the Xylarians share more than conflict. We share a history that predates the stars we now traverse." The Queen's spires flickered as if intrigued. "Explain," she said. Elias gestured to the drone, which projected a series of holographic images. These were not just maps or colonies, but representations of events from deep history, recorded by explorers and archaeologists. Ancient artifacts, mysterious ruins on distant planets, genetic markers in both species. They all hinted at a shared ancestor, a civilization that had existed in a galaxy now long dead. "Our species were not always separate," Elias said. "Long before we developed the technology to travel between stars, we came from a common origin. Evidence of this shared ancestry exists in genetics, in artifacts, and in signals that predate both human and Xylarian civilizations. The call you remember, my voice, was not merely a human distress. It resonated across the memory of our shared origin. Your reaction was not only instinct, but recognition of a distant kinship." The Queen remained silent, yet Elias could sense the subtle shift in her energy. The rhythm of her spires slowed, her body glowing with a soft violet light, not of anger, but contemplation. This was unprecedented. No human had ever explained the ancient connection between the species, and the Queen's instincts were adjusting to a reality far older than her personal memories. "You claim a shared history," she said finally, "yet our ancestors were destroyed. Our people have survived through struggle and adaptation. How can I trust that your kind will honor this truth rather than exploit it?" Elias met her gaze firmly. "Trust is earned, not demanded. I cannot promise perfection, but I can promise transparency. We seek dialogue, understanding, and cooperation. The mistakes of the past do not define the future unless we allow them to. The bond between our species, as distant as it may be, gives us a reason to seek peace, not just for survival, but for mutual growth." The chamber was silent for a long moment. The courtiers watched intently, sensing the weight of the conversation. Finally, one of the Queen's advisors floated forward, their form folding elegantly. "Your words are measured, and your intent appears genuine. Yet understanding alone is insufficient. Demonstrate your commitment. Show us what humanity can offer, beyond history and apology." Elias nodded. "Then let me present the future we can build together," he signaled to the drone, which projected new images. Human colonies thriving through cooperation with alien species, technological advances designed to preserve life, systems where war was avoided through diplomacy rather than force. Each projection emphasized progress, empathy, and the ability to learn from mistakes. These examples, Elias said, show that humans can create alliances, respect life, and value coexistence. Our species has learned, and we seek to extend that learning to your people. We do not wish to conquer or destroy. We wish to understand, to share knowledge, and to build a future where both humans and Xylarians can thrive. The Queen's body shifted, a ripple of light moving through her spires. "Your species has demonstrated growth," she said, "yet instincts and memory run deep. Your words may soothe, but your actions must prove them true. Humans have survived and advanced, but so have we. Coexistence requires balance, respect, and vigilance." Elias nodded solemnly. "We understand that, Your Majesty. And we are prepared to act, not just speak. Humanity is ready to demonstrate through cooperation, through shared ventures and through respect for your culture and memory." The queen regarded him in silence, then slowly descended closer to the floor, her spires glowing with a soft golden light. "Very well, Commander Varn. You have shown intent, and you have spoken truthfully. I will allow dialogue to continue, but know this: one misstep could awaken the instincts you have so carefully navigated. Coexistence will be tested, and trust will be fragile." Elias felt a wave of relief, tempered by the seriousness of her words. "I understand, Your Majesty, and we will honor the responsibility you place upon us." The courtiers began to move, their alien forms flowing gracefully as they adjusted to the presence of the thawed queen. Negotiations, Elias realized, were just beginning. The first step had been taken, breaking through fear with honesty and evidence. But the deeper work of understanding, alliance, and mutual growth lay ahead. He also realized something more personal. The call, the voice that had frozen the queen, had become a bridge. A simple human voice, carrying truth and courage, had awakened memory and recognition that transcended time and species. It was a reminder that humans, with all their flaws, had the power to connect, to empathize, and to change the course of history. Elias turned slightly to his team, meeting their eyes. Each member of the delegation understood the delicate balance that had been achieved. The mission was far from over. Challenges remained: cultural misunderstandings, ancient instincts, and the lingering fear of conflict. But hope had taken root in the most unlikely place, in the mind of an alien queen who remembered humanity not as conquerors, but as survivors reaching for understanding. As the chamber settled into a quiet rhythm, Elias felt a subtle shift in the energy around him. The queen's acknowledgement of shared history had opened a door, and the potential for real peace was no longer abstract. It was tangible, fragile, but real. And in that moment he understood that human courage, empathy, and honesty were not just tools for survival. They were keys to bridging worlds. The shuttle waiting outside would return them to human space eventually, but Elias knew that the real journey was only beginning. Negotiation, understanding, and alliance required patience, insight, and an unwavering commitment to truth. Yet for the first time he felt that the future held a chance for two species, so different yet so intertwined, to not just survive, but to thrive together. He turned back to the queen and her court. "I am ready," he said simply, "to continue, to learn, and to build a future that honors both our peoples." The queen's spires pulsed one final time in what Elias could only interpret as cautious approval. "Then we begin," she said, and in that chamber, filled with light, memory, and cautious hope, the first true steps toward reconciliation and coexistence were taken, guided not by weapons or fear, but by honesty, empathy, and the courage to speak the truth across the stars. Elias stood in the heart of the Xylarian capital, the light from the crystalline walls shimmering across the polished floor. The chamber no longer felt tense with fear or suspicion. Instead, it pulsed with cautious anticipation. The queen had listened, considered, and allowed humanity a rare chance to negotiate from a place of mutual understanding rather than threat. Yet the weight of the task before him was immense. Every word, every gesture, every decision in the next hours could determine whether peace would endure or collapse into renewed conflict. He glanced at his team. Each member was tense, yet alert, ready to act if the negotiations faltered. Security officers remained in the shadows, but diplomacy was their primary weapon. Elias knew that their success depended not on arms, but on their ability to connect with a species whose instincts ran deeper than history and memory. The queen's spires pulsed slowly as she floated down closer to Elias. "Commander Varn," she said, her voice calm but resonant with authority. "You have shown intent, honesty, and courage. Yet your words are not enough. To move forward, we must share truths long hidden, and you must prove that your species can act upon them." Elias nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am prepared to do whatever is necessary to demonstrate humanity's sincerity." The Queen's eyes glowed softly. "Then listen carefully. Your species is not entirely unknown to us. The call that reached us so long ago awakened a memory older than that event. Your kind and ours share a connection, one buried in time before the stars we now traverse existed. Long ago, our ancestors lived in the same region of space, thriving together, sharing knowledge and culture. That bond was fractured by calamity, and from it, separate civilizations emerged. But the echoes of that connection remain within our species. Your voice resonates with that memory, and now you stand here, willing to honor it." Elias's mind raced. The stories of a shared ancestor were mere legends among human historians, fragments of myth and speculation. Yet here was living proof, articulated by the leader of an alien species whose instincts preserved history like no archive could. "Then our shared past is not lost," he said carefully. "It is remembered in you, and I promise, Your Majesty, that humanity will honor that connection. We will not repeat the mistakes that fractured our ancestors' bonds. We seek to build a future worthy of that shared history." The Queen's spires flickered in what Elias hoped was approval. "Words are fragile. Actions endure. To honor this history, you must engage in what we call the trial of understanding. It is not a test of strength, but of intent, empathy, and cooperation. Your species must demonstrate that it can act in accordance with the truths it professes." Ellis straightened, meeting her gaze without hesitation. "We are ready." The chamber shifted subtly, and the courtiers stepped aside to reveal a vast holographic map of Xylarian space. Planets, moons, and orbital stations floated above the floor, each marked with histories of conflict, colonization, and survival. The Queen gestured toward them, and the images highlighted zones of tension. Systems where misunderstandings had sparked skirmishes, where instincts of fear and survival dominated. "The trial," the Queen explained, "requires you to choose not only words but deeds. You will propose solutions to these zones of conflict, and your choices will reveal the sincerity of your intent. Every decision carries weight, and failure will revive instincts of mistrust." Elias studied the map. Human history had been filled with mistakes, but humans also had ingenuity, empathy, and the ability to adapt. "We will approach this with honesty," he said. "Every proposal will be guided by understanding, fairness, and respect for life." "We will listen, learn, and act accordingly. The first challenge was a disputed system on the edge of Xylarian territory." Human colonists had inadvertently entered the orbit of a Xylarian research station centuries old, triggering territorial instincts in both species. Elias proposed a solution: shared administration of the system, joint research teams, and communication protocols designed to prevent misunderstandings. He emphasized transparency, accountability, and the inclusion of Xylarians in every decision. The Queen observed silently as he outlined his plan. Her spires pulsed faster with each explanation, a rhythm Elias had come to recognize as contemplation. Then, to his relief, she spoke. "This demonstrates understanding. It balances needs and acknowledges past mistakes. Proceed." One by one, Elias tackled each challenge, some involving disputes over resources, others involving cultural misunderstandings, and some even touching upon regions where instinctual memory of past conflicts ran deep. Each time he proposed solutions, emphasizing empathy, cooperation, and fairness. The courtiers whispered among themselves, noting the human's careful approach, the subtle way he accounted for alien instincts, and the deliberate pace that avoided triggering fear or aggression. As the hours passed, Elias sensed a transformation in the chamber. The Queen's body, once tense and cautious, now radiated calm energy. The courtiers moved more freely, their gestures less rigid. It was as though humanity's actions, guided by honesty and empathy, were reshaping the instinctual memory of the Xylarians, replacing fear with cautious hope. Finally, the Queen addressed him. "You have completed the trial of understanding. Your words and actions demonstrate that your species is capable of empathy, foresight, and cooperation. You have honored not only the shared past of our ancestors, but also the lives lost in conflict. I acknowledge this, and in doing so, offer a path toward formal peace." Elias felt a surge of relief, but he did not allow himself to smile just yet. Peace was not simply declared, it had to be earned and sustained. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humanity will honor this opportunity. We will act with integrity, with respect for life, and with the understanding that our choices today shape the future for both our species."
The Queen descended fully to the floor, her spires glowing with soft golden light.
"Then let it be known across Xylarian space that dialogue has succeeded where conflict once ruled. Let this be a beginning, not an end. The treaty we forge today will be built upon trust, empathy, and shared responsibility. Failures may come, but so long as understanding guides your actions, the path remains open." Elias nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. The treaty would be more than a formal agreement. It would be a living commitment, requiring vigilance, honesty, and constant communication. Yet the fact that it could exist at all, between humans and a species whose instincts ran deeper than memory, was a triumph in itself. He took a moment to look around the chamber, at the courtiers and the Queen. For centuries, humans had feared Xylarians as invincible and unknowable. Yet here, in this moment, he saw not only their power, but their vulnerability, their capacity for understanding when approached with honesty and courage, and he realized, with quiet pride, that humanity possessed similar strengths, resilience, empathy, and the willingness to confront mistakes to build a better future. The Queen spoke one final time. "Commander Varn, your voice once froze me with the memory of what was lost. Today, your words and actions have illuminated a future worth embracing. Let this be the first step of a journey where humans and Xylarians walk side by side, learning from each other, building together, and honoring the past without being enslaved by it." Elias bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, it will be our honor to walk this path. We will not forget the lessons of history, and we will strive every day to be worthy of this trust." Outside the chamber, the city of Xylar shimmered in the alien light of distant stars. Ships glided silently above, and in the distance, planets waited to be explored, understood, and shared. Elias knew that the work ahead would be challenging, that peace would require patience and courage, but for the first time, he felt confident in humanity's ability to rise to the occasion. The shuttle back to human space awaited him and his team, but Elias lingered, taking in the scene. He reflected on the call, the voice that had frozen the Queen decades ago, and now the same voice had become a bridge, a simple human voice, carrying intent and courage, had transformed fear into understanding. It was a reminder of the power inherent in his species, the ability to connect, to empathize, and to rise above instinct and memory to shape a better future. As the delegation prepared to depart, the Queen approached Elias one last time. Her spires glimmered softly, a gesture that conveyed respect rather than authority. "Commander Varn, humanity has shown potential not only to survive, but to thrive alongside us. Guard this opportunity well, for it is fragile. Yet in your hands it may blossom into a legacy greater than either species has known." Elias bowed again, feeling the immense responsibility settle upon his shoulders. "I will, Your Majesty. Humanity will honor this chance, and we will work tirelessly to ensure it endures." As the shuttle lifted from the platform, gliding into the vastness of space, Elias looked back at the Xylarian capital, its towers shimmering like living crystals under the light of distant suns. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a canvas of infinite possibility. He knew the treaty was only the beginning. There would be challenges, disagreements, and setbacks. But he also knew this: humanity had faced extinction, conflict and failure before, and yet they had risen each time. Now humanity had an opportunity to rise not alone but together with another species, to build a future shaped by understanding, courage, and the power to change. Elias felt hope well up inside him. The stars were vast, the universe ancient and full of mystery. But for the first time, he believed that humans and Xylarians could thrive together, not just as survivors, but as partners in a shared destiny. In the quiet hum of the shuttle, Elias allowed himself a small smile. He had been chosen for this mission not because of strength or cunning, but because of the human ability to speak truth, to act with empathy, and to embrace responsibility. That was their greatest power. That was what could shape the future. And as he gazed out at the stars, he knew that humanity had risen to the occasion, proving that courage, honesty, and the human heart could bridge worlds and forge peace, even across the vastness of space. And so, the first true steps toward lasting peace were taken, not with weapons, not with conquest, but with words, understanding, and the enduring strength of humanity. A new chapter began, for humans, for Xylarians, and for the shared future of a galaxy that was now just a little smaller, a little brighter, and a little more full of hope.